Mike Espy should have won. He ran a
Yep.
phenomenal campaign against
Hmm.
Cindy Hyde Smith. I can go on and on. How are you going to do this? Because the voter turnout can be low. This is a complicated state. I mean,
Hmm.
Governor Tate Reeves declared April once again Confederate Heritage Month. How is this happening in 2024? So how can we ensure this win? What can be done? You know this state. You're from Mississippi. You're a native son of the state. But how can we make sure that you are not another Mike Espy who should have won?
Well, Clay, thank you for that question and thank you for having me on. I really appreciate it. Like you said, Mississippi has a large black population. And to start the conversation, look at what happened in Georgia a few years ago. They elected two Democrats to the United States Senate. Georgia is only 28% African American. Mississippi is nearly 40% black, which for me, I'm confused as to why Democrats, national Democrats, have not invested in the blackest state in this country. Not only have not invested, we keep hearing how Democrats wants to engage rural communities and rural states. You heard it and I've heard it. We keep hearing about how Democrats support black and brown candidates running for office. We want the House, the Senate to be more diverse. We hear about how Democrats want to support veterans. Clay, I check all of those boxes. I am a 21-year Army veteran, 3 combat tours, 36 months at war for my country that I love. Worked for the President of the United States, Barack Obama. Graduated from one of the top law schools in this country with not one but two law degrees, JD and an LLM, my master's in law. Then came back to the state that I love, Mississippi, and worked for free for Mississippians who could not afford a lawyer, helping single mothers facing eviction in the middle of winter and the middle of the pandemic in the ice cold snow at the same time, and representing low income black farm workers in the second congressional district who had been cheated out of their pay, sued those businesses, won millions of dollars for those farm workers. For me, that resume is the resume that the Democratic Party would say, I'm going to get behind and support in order to build trust and a relationship with rural communities, with black voters, black male voters, but nothing thus far. So what we did with this campaign to try to make sure that we were viable is to say that in a state like Mississippi, you can't run a traditional campaign. It's a unique state. It's a different state. You can't run a campaign in Mississippi like you run a campaign in Michigan. So what I did was I started this campaign 2 years early. 2 years, 2023, I started running this campaign, January 2023. So I've been running for 20 months now. To all 82 counties I have been, talking to people all over this state, increasing my name recognition, raising money for this campaign. We've raised almost $700,000 without the support of the national party, without the support of the state party because they can't afford it because our state party is in shambles also, and without the support of um, federally elected officials in Mississippi that should support us, namely my own congressman. So I've done this all as a first-time candidate, and the national party, the DNC, the DSCC, the Democratic Senatorial Committee, have not lifted one finger to help with this campaign. And so I don't understand it. What I know is all I can do is keep driving up and down this highway, talking to voters all over this state until November the 5th, 2024.
See, this is an important point because I talked to Gary Chambers about this in Louisiana, who ran for Senate and should have won. Phenomenal campaign. Chris Jones in Arkansas ran for governor, who should have won against Sarah Huckabee Sanders. So we can get into the voter turnout, and I agree the voter turnout can be low. But for folks who may not understand, Mr. Pinkins, explain what funding from the DNC means. Because what other people think is, well, I guess they're not going to fund Mississippi or Louisiana or Arkansas because they know they can't win. But explain what changes the game when a race like yours is properly funded, because Lord knows they have the money. I keep on getting these text messages every single day asking for a donation. But explain what a funding does to really reinvent a campaign in a state like Mississippi.
Well, let's start here, Clay. Clay, Mississippi is the cheapest state to run television ads, radio ads, get out the vote in. Funding in Mississippi, compared to, say, California, where the Democratic Party spends a lot of money, a safe state for Democrats, but they
Yeah.
still spend a ton of money out there. Um, Funding in New York, funding in New Jersey, that morphs what it will cost to make a candidate viable in a state like Mississippi. Remember, it's the poorest state in the country.
The
The
poorest state
state
in the
with the
union.
lowest cost, poorest state in the union, the state with the lowest cost of living in the union. Therefore, as I mentioned before, also the state where it costs little to nothing to fund a candidate getting on television to increase his name recognition. $1 million. This is my guess. $1 million. I will even say $500,000. $500,000 invested into a Senate candidate in Mississippi could help flip this state. Here's why.
Mm.
Here's why. We complain about voter turnout. The Democratic Party complains about voter turnout, particularly black voter turnout in a state like Mississippi. But they never invest in them. They never invest in coming down here in a Senate race and invest in registering those people to vote and getting those people to turn out to vote. And most importantly, they scream and yell that black voter turnout is low in deep South states, but they never show up. They never give voters a reason to believe that they really care about them. Take my race, for example. I've been running for 20 months. I'm from the Mississippi Delta, born and raised, grew up in poverty. Neither of my parents graduated high school. My father never even learned how to read. And I ultimately graduated from law school with 2 law degrees and came back here. Been running for 20 months from the most rural part of this state. And the party has not lifted one finger to tell voters that they have their back in this state. So how can the National Party expect voters to get excited about supporting the National Party when the National Party won't even invest in one of their candidates who I'm not patting my back? But I think I got a quality resume. Clay, it makes no sense to me where you have a state that's 40% African American and national Democrats are not consistently investing in this state to break that stronghold that Republicans have on the Deep South. If there's a state that's about to turn blue in the Deep South, it is Mississippi. It's Mississippi if the party would take it seriously and invest in it.
So, Mississippi, the state has a Republican controlled state legislature,
Mm-hmm.
Republican governor.
Mm-hmm.
If you won, you'd be one Democrat, the other one Republican senator as well. What could you do with that Republican controlled trifecta if you were able to win in a state that is just controlled blood red by Republicans?
Yeah, well, when I win, because I'm one of those crazy optimists, I always think I'm gonna win. When I win,
Yes.
I'll be at the federal level, the junior senator with Republican Cindy Hyde-Smith, who's still in office, and of course
Mm.
with Congressman Benny Thompson, who's over in the House of Representatives. But with the Republican trifecta in Mississippi, here's one unique place that my Senate seat would affect Mississippians. Mississippi is one of the few states that have not expanded Medicaid for people. We're
Yes.
last in infant mortality, last in maternal mortality, dealing with a diabetes epidemic. People can't afford health care in Mississippi. Consider the unhealthiest state in the country. 40 states plus Washington, D.C., 41 have expanded Medicaid. Governor Tate Reeves refuses to expand it, even though 70% of Mississippians want to expand it, including a majority of Republicans. That's on the state level. On the federal level, Senator Wicker is doing another diabolical thing. He is trying to kill the possibility, the opportunity for Mississippi to expand Medicaid, because the only reason states like Mississippi have that opportunity is because of the Affordable Care Act. That's why they keep trying to kill it. So Tate Reeves is denying it here in Mississippi, and Roger Wicker is trying to kill it on the federal level. As a United States senator, I could vote to make sure that the Affordable Care Act stays in place until we get a Democratic governor in place in the state of Mississippi to expand Medicaid like 40 other states have already done. Federal funding for children to have food in the summertime. Recently, the
He
federal
blocked that.
government the federal government sent millions of dollars
Yep.
to Mississippi. But first of all, Roger Wicker voted against it. sent millions of dollars to Mississippi, the poorest state in the country, where children are living in food insecurity. Children are literally starving down here. The governor of Mississippi sent that money back to the federal government.
Crazy.
Back
Crazy.
to the federal government. It is absolutely not. Listen, with regard to food insecurity and health care, over the last 16 years, the Affordable Care Act would offer to send $1 billion a year to the state of Mississippi. And then they put some sprinkles on that little ice cream to make it even sweeter for Mississippi. They said, not only will we send you, Mississippi, $1 billion, but because we know you're unique, you're special, we're going to entice this. If you don't spend the entire $1 billion, you don't have to send it back to us. You can keep the rest. That's every year for the last 16 years. Our governor and Senator Tate Reeves has foregone over $16 billion for the poorest state in the country and the sickest state in the country. That's why I'm running for United States Senate, and that's why the Democratic National Party should invest in a state like this.
But Mr. Pinkins, can I ask you something? I just
absolutely.
Why white or black in Mississippi? Why do they keep getting reelected? In Jersey and New York, Jerseyans, New York, they're fickle. We've had Democratic government, Republic. We'll kick your ass out. We'll kick your behind out in a minute. Why do they keep this? Feels like cruelty by law. There are plenty of poor white folks in Mississippi. It's torment by law. Why in the world do they keep getting reelected? This is just. Don't we all care about children? You claim you're pro-life. Do you care about starving kids? Like, I feel like whether it's Governor Greg Abbott in Texas, they're being rewarded and reelected for bad behavior. Why?
That's the question of the day. How do these people continue to get elected in office? I don't know why they keep getting elected, but I know how we can stop them from getting elected, because the party investing in this state not only affect national seats that are up for office, but also the statewide seats. Remember,
that's right.
Brandon Presley only lost by less than 3% of the vote. That was a very, very close race. This was just last November. He barely lost that race in the state of Mississippi. Barely lost it. Coming out of that election in November of 2023, the national party should have had boots on the ground, knowing that a United States Senate seat was immediately up for grabs right after that. That's common sense. That's strategy. You have a governor who almost won a red state in Mississippi. And right after that, this is November 2023. January 2024, a Senate race is about to start. And the Senate is split 51-49 right now. There's a battle in the Senate over the Senate right now. And the National Party did not use that opportunity to take that enthusiasm from November 2023 into January 2024 to build on the progress that Brandon Presley had done. For me, that's political malpractice. I don't understand it. I have no idea. And today, and on top of that, for the entire year of 2023, you had a guy that was running for United States Senate during statewide elections in order to build the momentum for the national party to say we have something to build off of going in 2024. Crickets. Nothing. Not one word, not one phone call, even though I know they know that the race is going on. The chair of the Democratic National Committee knew it because I told him face to face a year ago.
Jamie Harrison?
On the Gulf Coast.
He's a Southern man. What, South Carolina?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I told him, I'm running for United States Senate. I need your help. Oh, we got you. We see you. We're going to help you. Nothing. Then I saw him at the DNC and told him again. Asked me, have I heard from him? Nothing. The DSCC, the Democratic Senatorial Campaign Committee, that is supposed to be fighting to elect Democratic senators, I told him too. I told him, I told his second in command, I told his third in command, I'm running and I need your help. They have known this. Crickets. I'm trying to understand. The question should be asked, why are Democrats so reluctant? Why are national Democrats so reluctant? And they're sitting on money. They're sitting on it. Why are they so reluctant to invest in the blackest state in this country where black people vote 99% for Democrats? Why are they so reluctant to do that?
Do you think, because I know my audience are thinking this out loud, do you think they just feel like, ain't no way, like Aretha Franklin, ain't no way it's going to happen? Like Ty Pinkins is an incredible candidate. We just don't want to invest money in this state. It's just not gonna happen. Do you think that's just what it is? Just feel like it sounds good, but ain't no way.
If that's their thought process, whoever is in charge needs to be fired.
Mm.
One, look at the demographics. I keep repeating them.
Yeah, you're right.
Rural state, it doesn't cost much to invest in the state. Blackest state in this
Mm-hmm.
country, nearly 40% African American. No other state has been fighting for civil rights and voting rights longer than black people in the state of Mississippi. That is a fact.
Yeah,
That is a
that's
fact.
right.
Look at
Fannie
your
Lou
candidate
Hamer, the
profile.
list.
Candidate profile, right? You're the chair of the Democratic National Committee and you are the chair of the Democratic Senatorial Campaign Committee. Here's your candidate profile: 21-year veteran, 3 combat tours, 36 months at war, Bronze Star recipient, Defense Meritorious Service Medal recipient, among others. Worked for 2 presidents, 2 law degrees, grew up in poverty. Neither one of his parents learned to read, and he's been fighting in Mississippi, helping people who have been cheated out of their pay by big businesses. If that's not the candidate and an author, if that's not the candidate profile that you want in a candidate running in a state, whomever is looking at that and saying, you know what, I don't even want to give it a chance, that person should not be in charge.